What you're looking at here is a 60mm refractor telescope from Svbony. Is it any good? Well, let's take a closer look. Hello, welcome to my channel, Small Optics. My name is Jason. Now, what we've got here is a little 60mm refractor, kindly sent to me by Retovitz/Svbony to have a look at. So what have we got? Well, it's a 60mm aperture. It's a 400mm focal length, which gives it about a 6.6 focal ratio. You've supplied with a little finder scope. Also provided with the telescope is a little correctional prism, which is what that'll do is for daytime use, it'll turn everything the right way. Instead of it being flipped back to front, left and right, all disorientated, this will put everything right. It's applied on a full-side tripod, which we'll get to in a minute. So, what's this thing like? Does it work? Can you see things through it? Well, of course you can. It's absolutely brilliant, to be honest. I was so surprised. Don't be put off by its first appearance of this plasticky appearance. At first glance, when you pick it up, you could put it in the category of being a toy telescope. It's far from being a toy telescope. This is a proper scientific little instrument. It's great. Now, the optics in this thing, if I just spin it round, if this is wobbling all over the place, it's because I've actually raised it up a little bit, just so it gets onto, get it in shot basically, and it's not on a very good foundation. But as you can see, we've got a nice 60mm objective there. Inside the tube, it's lovely, it's nicely blackened, I was pleased to see. It also has in the tube a few baffles. Now what baffles do is they help prevent light from scattering around and losing a bit of the quality of the image, which is quite good to have it. But like I say, it's nicely blackened on the inside. Now, the finder scope it comes with, this ideally, now usually these little finder scopes that come on these telescopes are pretty useless, to be honest, but on this one I was pleasantly surprised. Now, I still would advise upgrading this to something like a red dot finder, an electronic red dot finder. It is okay, but it's just that little bit too small. It's kind of a little bit tight, especially for my big head, to get in and actually, you know, especially if you've got some attachments up here, like a phone adapter or something like that. But that's to be expected for this sort of price range. The other thing it comes supplied with is one Kellner eyepiece. Again, these could do with upgrading, but you know, that is the same for any telescope of this price range. They either come with these Kellners, sometimes modified achromats, excuse me, which are quite popular today. They're supplied with telescopes, but they really could do with upgrading. And as soon as I put a better eyepiece in this thing, the difference was night and day, really. Now, the telescope will provide up to around about 120 times magnification, but you are going to need added accessories to get you up to that magnification, such as Barlow's, you know, a stronger eyepiece, or like maybe a 12mm eyepiece or something like that, to get you up to them kind of magnifications. Now, what can you see with this thing? Well, pretty much the same as you can see with any telescope, really, except it's going to be a lot smaller and a lot dimmer. Well, I say same as any telescope. You are limited. Of course, you're going to be limited. It's only got 60mm of aperture. But I always say, no matter how small your telescope is, if you take it to proper dark skies, some dark locations, it's like adding 3-4 inches of aperture to any telescope. The difference is phenomenal. But the moon through this is absolutely fantastic. You can see lots of detail. It's a lovely crisp image of the moon. I shall throw some pictures up as I'm talking of something. Now, what I don't like to do is put a camera on this and point it and show you what it's like. The reason why telescope manufacturers and people like me don't like doing that is because a camera will never ever give you the true image quality of what you can actually see with your own eyes. It really doesn't do any justice at all. So that's why I don't really like showing photographs. I don't like putting cameras up to telescopes or anything like that. I once heard a good analogy of this. I can't remember where it was from, and it's a bit like if you see somebody taking a selfie, say on top of a mountain, top of Mount Everest, all right, and it's a beautiful photograph. Yeah, it's a beautiful photograph, but you cannot experience what it would be like to actually be there, you know, and see these things. It's so that's where I'm trying to come from here. So what about the planets? Well, it's certainly going to show you the Galilean moons around Jupiter. You will work out the ring structure on Saturn. You're not going to see incredible amounts of detail in the planets. It's only a small telescope. Like I say, you can boost up the power of these things by adding Barlows and additional eyepieces. But the problem comes then is whenever you introduce power, you are introducing, everything is magnified as in vibrations. So every touch of the telescope, and it's going to be wobbling like crazy. Not only that, when you increase power, you also get a narrower field of view. And as you all know, we live on a spinning ball, and to keep that target in the field of view is going to be a bit of a challenge. And it's always a good idea to be modest with this and be realistic and just get that sweet spot where you're seeing enough details but not too much, if you get what I mean. If you start pushing any telescope, the image will just become blurred, it'll become hard to focus, and all the things I've just said. Quick word on some of the accessories that you get. Now, this little correctional prism that you get in the end is actually quite reasonably good quality. I was pleasantly surprised with this. Now, this is great for terrestrial viewing. For the daytime, like I say, looking round, everything will move the right way. I don't know if you've tried looking through a telescope in the daytime. It can be a bit disorientating, especially if you, I don't know, looking at a bird, the bird hops to the left and you turn to the left and everything turns right. It's like, whoa. But with one of these, it corrects all that, and they're great for that. I wouldn't advise using it for astronomy though. Now, the reason why is because glass is like a sponge to light. Whenever light goes through glass, it sucks some of the light out of it. It scatters it, it loses it around the edges. And so putting light through this prism, you're going to be losing some of the brightness. And with this being only 60mm of aperture, you're going to need every bit of light grasp you can get. So just upgrading this to a normal mirror type diagonal, where it's just reflecting light instead of light having to pass through something, is strongly recommended. So leave this for daytime use. And just get a mirror diagonal for nighttime use. Now, if you haven't got a mirror diagonal, what you can do is you can just put your eyepiece straight into the telescope. You may find that you have to really rack out the focusing a little bit when you do this. Because it does alter the focal length a little bit as the light passes through, see. But this is another way that you can observe. The only downside to this, obviously, it can be a little bit awkward on getting down. You need quite a high tripod to get to comfortable viewing positions. But of course, you could just simply get a chair, sit down with a chair. I like to do that often. I'm getting a bit lazy in my old age. Now, so that's all the good things about this. Oh, another thing, I just want to talk a little bit about what refractors suffer from, and that is a thing called chromatic aberration. Now that just simply means all the lights, the colour of the light, it doesn't quite focus to a point. Instead of it being coming through the tube and focusing like that, it comes more like that. And that means you sometimes can get a red, green, purple hue around stars and brighter objects. Now, I was incredibly surprised with this telescope that there is very minimal achromatic aberration, and to a newbie to the hobby, you're not going to notice it. You are simply not going to notice it. It is not going to affect your views at all. Really surprised, really impressed with that. I did a good daytime test against trees. A good test for that is any bright object with or any good contrast, like trees against a bright sky, and have a look, and you'll just see like a rainbow effect sometimes going round. That's chromatic aberration. Don't worry, there's nothing wrong with your telescope. It's worse in some telescopes than in others, and it's all down to the quality of the optics. And like I say, the quality of the optics in this are pretty good for the money. Talking about that, how much does this thing cost? It's retailing around about £80 at the minute, and like I say, you get the telescope tube, you get the tripod, a Kellner eyepiece, the finder scope, and your correctional diagonal, which we'll put back in actually. Now, so there are all the good things of this thing. What's the bad things? Well, it's the thing it's mounted on, this tripod. Now, if I lift it up like that, now, it kind of, I'm laughing, but it kind of infuriates me a little bit, this. Why on earth do telescope suppliers put such a nice little instrument like this on such a shoddy, useless, and I do mean useless, piece of junk like these tripods are? Please, 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 telescope manufacturers, stop doing this. You're not doing yourselves any favour, and you're certainly not doing the community any favour. I could not, I mean, in all my experience of being under the stars, could not get anything in the field of view with this. I can't even call it a tripod. It's honestly, guys, it's useless. And it's not just Svbony that do this. There's a lot of manufacturers that just put good optical tubes on these things. Now, one of the most important things of a telescope, apart from aperture and good optics, is a good solid mount. If you've never used a telescope before, or you may have already found this out, any slightest little movement and you just got no chance of seeing anything. Now, when I first took this out, and I did manage to finally find the moon, that has something as big as bright and that, it was just, I mean, if a fly landed on this, the image was like this. It is terrible, guys. It is really bad. And where the problem comes is this. Can you hear that? If I put the microphone up, can you hear that stickiness? And this is off. I mean, I've not got this tightened up hardly any. And if I undo this anymore, that's going to happen, okay? It's sticky, it's jerky, it's horrible. And no matter how much faffing around to try and make this thing right, I don't think you're ever going to do it. Now, my advice for you, if you've got one of these type of cheap, nasty tripods, is to just simply upgrade it. Buy a better tripod. You can pick one up, you know, relatively cheap these days. Well, I'll tell you that you can buy these tripods. I've seen them, and they retail round about £7. That just shows you the trash that these things are mounted on. And it really, really is a shame, because this telescope is a lovely little telescope. Like I say, don't be put off by this plasticky appearance. Now, I know a few, I like to call them snobs out there, will say this is a bunch of trash. And those people can go and sling the rock as far as I'm concerned. It's just equipment snobbery. All right, you simply do not have to pay astronomical prices for good quality images. So don't listen to anybody that says, oh, I want to touch Svbony with a barge pole, which I've heard quite a lot. And it infuriates me. It really does. It's nothing but snobbery, equipment snobbery, and I just can't stand that kind of behaviour. It irritates me. What else can we say about this thing? Yeah, I've mentioned the finder, haven't I? Now, this little finder scope, it is an optical finder. It has a crosshair in it, a little bit like a gun sight. And I was really impressed with this, to say. I thought it was going to be totally useless. It's a 5x20, I think. A 5x20 finder. I've got my glasses, got my notes here. Oh yeah, also it comes in, obviously you've got your little instruction book. Let me just look at the spec sheet here. The finder scope, yeah, it's a 5x24. So, oh yes, and it's all fully multi-coated as well. The optics are fully multi-coated. But yeah, the eyepiece and the finder and the tripod. But let's just talk about the optical side of it. The eyepieces and the finder definitely could probably do with an upgrade. But like I say, it's not useless. As you can see, it's still on here. I haven't replaced it for a red dot. And I used it and it found things pretty well. Now, if you do happen to have one, and it's been such a long time, and I do feel sorry for anybody that has got one of these type of Altaz camera tripods, okay, these cheap ones I'm talking about. It's been a long time since I've used a tripod as bad as this. I mean, I've been spoilt a little bit by using decent Altaz mounts and equatorial mounts, and I just forgot how bad these things are. It's to the point of being as bad as being a hobby killer, and I really do mean that. Like I say, with all my experience, I struggled like hell to get anything in the field of view with this tripod. But one thing you can do, just to ease things, I haven't done it to this yet, well, that's because I'll probably not be using it again, is to get a pencil, all right, just an ordinary pencil, get something rough and a piece of paper and get a load of carbon fibre, like rub the pencil on something rub and get a nice little pile of pencil dust, if you like. Well, that's carbon fibre. Get yourself a little brush, loosen everything off and brush this carbon powder in all the bits that have friction on the moving. What you'll find with that is it'll take away, and not take it all away, but it'll certainly make the telescope move a lot smoother. So that's one little tip you can do. I wouldn't use greasers and stuff like that. You never know. I've never personally used greasers. Maybe lithium grease might be okay. To loosen it up a bit, but what I've found is definitely carbon fibre, not carbon, I keep saying carbon fibre, don't I? I don't mean carbon fibre, I mean carbon dust. That's what I mean, pencil dust. Now, another thing that really took me by surprise with this little scope was, if I just rack this in again, is this little addition on the end here. If I spin this round, so I'm blown away by this. If we take this off, you can actually see what we've got here is an actual compression ring fitting. It's like a little brass ring and I always plug these. I always say get one of these. If you can get an adapter, so get one of these. They're fantastic. They don't mark or gouge all your eyepieces up like these little thumb screws do. And that is really surprising on a telescope of this price range. You usually only get compression ring fittings on telescopes, you know, of a lot more expensive than this. So that little addition, 10 points for that Svbony. I like that a lot. So apart from what I've already mentioned about the tripod and things like this is a great little scope, and it's well worth your 70 or 80 pounds hard-earned money. Like I say, it's suitable for the daytime and nighttime use. Now, is it suitable for kids? A lot of people always ask this, and I always say, well, anything for children is classed as a toy, isn't it, really? And this certainly isn't a toy. If it's will be good for kids, yes, but I always say, you know, up to a certain age, you do need parental advice and care with these things, especially if they're using it in the daytime. Telescopes can be incredibly dangerous in the daytime for that big bright light that's up in the sky. You know, if a small kid just turns, oh, I wonder what the sun looks like, then, and it has happened in the past, all right? So, yes, it's suitable for children, but always with parental advice until a certain age. That's what I would say there. The other thing about this telescope, of course, is it's super portable. I mean, it weighs virtually nothing. Now that's a good thing, and it's also a bad thing in a way, because you do need a little bit of weight. Now with all these type of telescopes that come on these lightweight tripods, even if it's a slightly better one than this, I always recommend, if I just open it up properly, adding some weight here, okay, just like a house brick in a carrier bag, anything like that. All right, not too heavy, because obviously you could damage the mount, but just adding some weight and lowering the center of gravity really sturdies these things up, and makes them a lot more stable, a lot less chance of blowing over. I mean, the first time I took this out, it was a nice clear night, but it was quite blustery. And well, I'd say it was a nice clear night. It was patchy, it was on and off, and a bit of cloud come over, and I thought, right, I'll go in and have a cup of tea. And as I was sat drinking my cup of tea, I heard the wind gusting about, and I thought, I better bring that telescope in, because I was scared of it actually blowing over. That's how lightweight this thing is. But I suppose I'm being a little bit critical on that. All these little telescopes are lightweight, and they come with that. But like I say, just adding that little bit of weight to lower the center of gravity so they're not so much top heavy is something I would recommend doing. So that's about all I can say about this. Would I recommend it? Absolutely, 100% yes. It's a great little starter scope. It will show you some lovely, as you can see, these images I'm putting up. I mean, the stars were nice and sharp. Very, very sharp. When I looked at the moon, there was very little false color around the moon, and that is the ultimate test for any refractor, is to look at the moon and just look around the edges and see if you can see any fringing of color, and more than likely you will do if it's a refracting telescope. Now there is ways around this. If you have got a refracting telescope that has got quite a severe chromatic aberration, you can use filters. Just a blue-green filter, something like that will kind of cancel out any of that false color. So there we go, folks. The 60mm short tube refractor from Svbony. I think it's a great little thing. Thank you so much to Retovitz, who sent me this to have a first look at. I will leave full links in the description of where you can acquire this, and I think you get quite a lot of bang for your buck, really. So there we have it, folks, the 501P 60mm short tube refractor by Svbony. Thank you very much to Retovitz for sending me this to have a first look at it, and thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, all the rest of it, and until the next one, take care, and I will see you on the next one. Bye for now.